Herring in Alaska has long been one of the most important marine resources, playing a major role in the economic life and livelihood of fishermen here. Catching this fish requires a combination of traditional and modern methods to ensure high yields while maintaining the sustainability of the marine ecosystem. One of the most popular methods is to use giant purse seine nets, which are considered an effective tool to encircle a moving school of herring. When a large school of fish is detected through modern sonar signals or through the fisherman's experience of looking at the water, the captain will direct the net to be dropped from the stern of the ship, then gradually close the circle, encircling the entire school of fish. When the net is tightly closed, the crane and hydraulic winch system will pull the net up, bringing the fish into a deep freeze storage compartment, keeping the fish fresh for processing. In addition to purse seine nets, Alaskan fishermen also use trawling methods. Especially on long offshore trips, the trawl is lowered into the mid-water layer, where the herring often move in dense clusters, and then the boat will move at a moderate speed to collect the fish in the net bag behind. This is a highly productive fishing method, which can collect dozens of tons of fish in just one haul. But it also requires skillful net control techniques to avoid loss and minimize impact on other species. In addition, in some coastal areas of Alaska, local people still maintain the traditional method of manual fishing with nets or traps. They stretch fixed nets in shallow water, where herring often gather during the spawning season. When the tide rises, the fish are caught in the net, and when the tide goes down, the fishermen just collect them. Some indigenous communities even use bamboo baskets, wooden baskets or special tools to catch the herring when they swim close to the shore. Demonstrating their long-standing connection with nature, on an industrial scale. In addition to purse seine and trawl vessels, there are also fishing systems that combine modern technology such as fish-finding radar, satellite positioning devices and onboard quick freezing systems, helping to maintain the quality of the fish when it is brought to port. Thanks to the diversity of methods, from traditional manual to advanced technology, herring fishing in Alaska not only meets domestic and export demand but also contributes to maintaining fishing traditions. While aiming for a balance between economic benefits and marine resource conservation, herring fishing in Alaska is also associated with seasonal factors. Because this fish species has the habit of migrating at certain times of the year, in spring and early summer, when giant schools of herring move closer to shore to spawn, this is the most favorable opportunity for fishermen to exploit. At this time, many fishing boats from large and small ports such as Dutch Harbor, Kodiak or Sitka all set sail at the same time, creating a bustling and vibrant scene. To avoid overfishing, the Alaska government applies strict regulations, including granting specific fishing quotas to each boat and each fisherman, as well as clearly dividing which areas are allowed to cast nets and which areas must be left for fish to spawn. In addition, to increase efficiency and minimize losses, boats often combine different methods in one trip. For example, when they detect small, scattered schools of fish, They use seine nets to quickly gather them. And when they encounter large schools moving deeper, they use trawls. Some ships even install high-power floodlights to attract herring to the surface at night, then quickly drop a seine net to catch them. Some experienced fishermen rely on observations of the sky. Currents and watercolor to predict where the fish will appear, combined with modern sonar to reduce errors. Once the fish are brought onto the ship, preservation is also an equally important step. After being brought into the hold, the herring is often washed with cold sea water, then quickly transferred to a deep freeze system or iced to maintain maximum freshness. Fresh herring will be consumed on the spot, serving the dietary needs of local people, or brought to processing plants to make many valuable products such as smoked herring, canned fish, salted fish, fish oil and fish meal used in the food and livestock industries. From traditional fishermen to industrial enterprises, from the cold coast to the open sea, all are closely linked to herring resources. The diverse fishing methods reflect not only human intelligence and adaptation to the sea, but also the intimate relationship between livelihood, culture and environment in Alaska, where herring is not just a common fish but a symbol of the abundance, fertility and sustainability of the Northern Ocean. In addition to the popular fishing methods mentioned above, Alaska is also famous for its herring festivals associated with the life of fishing communities, where fishing activities are not only economic but also a traditional cultural feature. During the herring season, many local fishermen, especially the Tlingit and Haida indigenous people, hold ceremonies in which they both fish and offer offerings to the sea for providing abundant food. This also affects the way they fish, as they often use small nets, bamboo traps or hand nets to catch enough fish, not to destroy them but to keep them for the following seasons. Meanwhile, the large-scale herring industry in Alaska operates on a very professional system. With fleets working closely with processing plants right at the port, each fish after being caught is not only used as food but also fully utilized. From herring eggs, a high-class specialty exported to Japan to make grilled fish eggs or sushi, to fish oil and fish meal used as animal feed. Therefore, the herring exploitation process is always urgent, requiring high precision to harvest in time before the fish migrate to other waters. To protect long-term resources, the Alaska government also requires all fishing vessels to install voyage monitoring equipment and report daily production. This helps management agencies know which areas are being heavily exploited, thereby adjusting quotas and temporarily suspending fishing in sensitive areas. In parallel, fisheries scientists also regularly survey herring populations, using low-frequency sonar equipment to estimate fish stocks. Thereby making recommendations for the following year's fishing season. Each sea voyage is therefore not only a journey of survival but also a combination of science, management and tradition. Alaskan fishermen, from indigenous people with their traditional experience to modern, well-trained captains, contribute to the diverse picture of herring fishing here. Thanks to the skillful combination of sustainable artisanal fishing methods and modern, industrial-scale technology, herring fishing in Alaska ensures great economic benefits while keeping the ocean nurturing new generations of fish. Maintaining valuable natural resources for future generations. The diversity of herring fishing in Alaska is also reflected in the fact that each coastal community has its own experience, depending on natural conditions and living habits. In the famous Sitka Sea, fishermen often focus on the herring spawning season, because at that time the fish are fat. Nutritious, and the fish eggs have a very high economic value. They use pine branches or seaweed dropped into the water for the herring to attach to the eggs, then scoop them up and harvest them, which is both easy and retains a part of the fish in the wild. Meanwhile, in deeper waters such as Kodiak or Dutch Harbor, large industrial ships prioritize using purse seines and high-powered trawls to catch herring migrating in giant schools offshore. The common characteristic of herring is that they gather in extremely large schools that can stretch for kilometers. So a successful catch can yield dozens, even hundreds of tons of fish, filling the ship's hold in just a few hours. These sea trips often last for many days, requiring patience, discipline and close coordination among the crew on board. In addition to fishermen, there are also fish finder technicians. Refrigeration system managers, and product quality monitors. After being quick frozen, the herring will be packed in large barrels, stored at sub-zero temperatures, ready to be transported to the processing plant or exported as soon as the ship docks. Not only serving the international market, herring in Alaska is also associated with traditional local cuisine, from grilled herring, pickled herring, to modern dishes such as herring salad or Japanese-style sushi. That makes the fishing of this fish even more meaningful, not only for commercial exploitation but also contributing to nurturing the culture and identity of this cold land. As the summer sun dips below the horizon, ships line the sea, and purse seines, trawls, and traditional crafts write an epic poem about the enduring bond between humans and the sea. Alaska, with its abundant herring, has maintained a fishery that is both diverse in catch and sustainable in management, setting a model for other parts of the world's oceans to learn from and emulate in the grand scheme of Alaskan fishing. Herring are not only an economic resource but also a key factor in maintaining the ecological balance of the sea. Therefore, along with fishing activities, there are always strict rules to protect the fish. Many sea areas are divided into seasonal open areas, some of which only allow fishing for a few short days. When the herring schools reach a size and quantity large enough for sustainable exploitation, fishermen must therefore always be ready, watching for announcements from the management agency, so that when the open fishing season signal is issued, all set off at the same time, creating a scene of hundreds of boats jostling each other on the icy sea. Every moment is precious, because a day of fishing can bring in an income equivalent to a month. This makes coordination between fishermen, the speed of netting and netting, as well as fish preservation techniques extremely important. In addition, herring fishing in Alaska is also associated with high-tech and scientific research. Large vessels are often equipped with GPS systems, three-dimensional sonar and advanced radar equipment to determine the density of fish schools and move with them. Onboard computers can even estimate the catch in the net while pulling, helping the captain decide whether to continue or stop. The collected data is also transmitted to the Oceanographic Research Center, serving the purpose of long-term monitoring. Notably, the Alaska Native community, which has lived on herring for hundreds of years, still retains its own cultural identity in the way it fishes. They often catch just enough, use simple tools and pass down techniques through many generations. For them, herring is not only food or a source of income, but also the soul of the sea, a bridge between people and nature. The coexistence of two worlds, modern industry on one side and ancient tradition on the other, has created a remarkable diversity in the ways Alaskan herring is caught. This makes the fishery both global in scale and local in character, with an irreplaceable culture, while maintaining the sustainability necessary for future generations to continue to feed on this small but valuable fish. Looking deeper into the picture, it becomes clear that Alaska's herring fishery is not simply a resource extraction activity, but also an important link in the global marine economic chain. From each herring lifted from the cold water, a long journey begins, from the ship's hold to the processing plant. From canned products sold in American supermarkets to high-end herring roe exported to Japan, or fish oil and fish meal for the livestock industry throughout Europe and Asia. Each market has its own requirements, so Alaskan fishermen and businesses must constantly improve their fishing and processing methods to meet strict standards. Behind that is careful calculation of net technology, storage time, freezing speed and transportation method. There are even ships that are likened to floating factories because they can process directly at sea, packaging products on the spot to save time and maintain quality. Yet, all of this massive industrial scale does not overshadow the image of small indigenous fishermen, who cast their nets along the shore every day, collecting a few baskets of herring to feed their families. They still maintain the habit of salting fish in wooden barrels, smoking fish over charcoal fires, or making traditional dishes that have preserved the flavor of the sea for hundreds of years. Amidst this contrast, there is one common point: they all depend on the cycle of nature and the seasonal migration of herring. This has urged the entire Alaskan community to form a sense of conservation, so that no one, for short-term profit, exhausts long-term resources. Workshops between fishermen, scientists and the government take place regularly, to unify regulations, adjust quotas, and even temporarily suspend fishing when the fish population shows signs of decline. This is clear evidence that the ways of fishing herring in Alaska not only reflect technology and culture, but also symbolize the connection between people, economy and environment. As a result, Alaska is now considered one of the most sustainable herring fisheries in the world, where every fishing method, from artisanal to modern, works together to create a harmonious story of survival and conservation. Digging deeper. It can be seen that the diversity of herring fishing in Alaska lies not only in the techniques but also in the coordination between people and the sea. Each fishing season, fishermen must adapt to harsh weather conditions. Slow ice melting blocks the way out to sea. Sudden storms can tear nets or capsize boats. Strong currents change the path of fish schools. It is in these challenges that the fisherman's traditional experience becomes an irreplaceable asset. They know how to observe the water surface to recognize the sparkle of herring scales in the sunlight. Listen to the sound of seabirds diving to predict where the fish are gathering, or rely on the wind and tide to decide when to cast their nets. These seemingly simple skills, when combined with modern fish-finding technology, create a great advantage, making fishing both efficient and minimizing risks. On the other hand, the community cohesion in fishing is also a highlight. At sea, ships not only compete but also support each other when encountering problems, sharing signals about the location of fish schools or warning of dangerous weather. When returning to shore, herring is not only a source of income but also a source of collective pride, because each ship arriving